Okay, welcome back folks to the Wanneroo channel. So today's episode here is going to be a continuation of that 300 Blackout project with the 150 grain Hornady full metal jacket bullets. And we already did 2 videos previously on that, kind of setting up the whole project and why we're doing it and all that sort of thing, the powders we use and all that. So we had that discussion previously. So now today we're going to move to the bench and start looking at a lot of this stuff in terms of getting it loaded up and all that, and maybe a couple considerations about how I'm kind of setting that up and my methodology with that. So I hope everyone is having a good summer. Summer is definitely kind of moving by pretty fast, and with that I'm trying to kind of scramble and get a lot of the summer projects done. Because I know in 4 to 6 weeks the leaves are going to start to turn, all that sort of stuff. So definitely starting to think about fall and trying to wrap up a lot of summer stuff. So probably won't be doing a huge amount of reloading up into the fall, but I'm now starting to think about prepping brass and stuff for all my fall and winter projects. So that's starting to kind of seep into my brain a bit, terms of what I'm going to be doing here coming up in the next couple months. So with this, I definitely kind of want to get this done so that I've got a good stock of plinking brass, because I expect to have some people come to visit and all that this fall, and so I like to have these on hand as just cheap plinkers everyone can have fun with, and that's kind of the idea behind it. So we've already got our powder. We've got fresh powder in the hopper. We have checked our powder load, and so for this, what I'm using is 16.4 grains of little gun. So with this, again, it's one of those things where, because this is a plinking load, we're not looking to get max velocity, max distance, anything like that at all. Just good general accuracy out to 100 yards at best. So if we can accomplish that with this, then hey, then definitely kind of all the better. So that's kind of the goal. So 16.4 is what we're going with on this. And then so our bullet here, again, we're using that 150 grain Hornady full metal jacket. So right now with these, I would say availability on these is really good. Back this summer, I went to one of the biggest reloading shops in my state, and they had these, I think they were in 100 round, 100 bullet containers, and they also had 500 bullet boxes as well. And they had just, the counter was just loaded with them. So then I knew that reloading supplies were starting to come back. Since that time, looking at different online vendors and stuff, Midway, Mid-South Shooters, and some of the others, these have come back into stock. You should have no trouble at all finding these. They're out there everywhere, from what I can see. And the pricing I've seen on these is about 23 cents before shipping. So, that's not bad, considering the way things have been. In the past, I've picked these up for as low as 15 cents a bullet, maybe a bit lower. And I buy in bulk. So I'm kind of a master at buying in bulk and buying cheap. So I kind of keep up with all the sales, all that stuff, and I wait like a sniper for the good deals to come up, and then boom, I'm on it, and I'll buy thousands of bullets at a time, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. So that's kind of what I do. So these bullets, they're out there. They're widely available. You shouldn't have any trouble finding them at all. If you go to one vendor or one gun store and they don't have them, then definitely check some other stores out there, because with the amount that I saw Hornady dumping out there on the market, there shouldn't be any trouble finding them. And if you can't find them locally, go online. Companies like Mid-South Shooters and Midway and stuff, I've never had one issue at all ordering stuff from them. Graphs, they're another good vendor as well. Who else? Natchez, I don't order from them much, but I've ordered from them in the past, no problems at all. Never used Powder Valley to my that I can recall. So but I've heard good things about them. So yeah, definitely staying up with a lot of the bigger vendors and looking for those deals and stuff. Certainly, it's a wise thing to do. And I'll probably do a video at some point talking about how I score a lot of the deals I get and stuff as well. So now, in terms of the crimp on these, if you go online and you look at the forums out there, there is a huge debate, well, not a huge debate, a big debate. There's been plenty of debate over the years, let's just say that, on 300 Blackout. Do you crimp or don't you crimp? There's people that say, well, don't crimp at all. There's some people say, yeah, go ahead, crimp, put a good crimp on it, this and that. You're firing semi-auto gun, bullet could come loose, all this sort of stuff. Other people are like, no crimp, you don't need crimp. If you're crimping, you're doing something wrong, this and that. Crimp will mess you up more than anything else. There's a lot of different, debate out there and people's positions on that and all that. So the stance I take with this, in terms of this bullet right here, we have a cantilever on the bullet, and we're shooting it in an AR-15, semi-auto, all that. So basically what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put essentially a light crimp on it. I think about 1/1000th of an inch. So I'm not going to overdo it with the crimp. I'm not, or I'm not going to go to the other extreme of not crimping at all. I'm just going to kind of go for the middle ground. That seems to work fine. So that's the way I'm going to kind of roll with this. So that's what we're looking at. Now, there might be a little bit of difference there because the brass is not the exact same length down to the 1/1000th. There might be a little bit of difference in terms of where the bullet is seated at within a couple thousandths. But again, with this, it's one of those things where, hey, we're just making plinking ammo, and that's kind of what we're going with. And also the die that I'm using is a RCBS seating die, and that is their AR series of reloading dies that I bought. And years ago I went to the Forester sizing die, so that's what I use instead, but I'm still using this RCBS die for seating the bullet. Works fine. And then for the case gauge, I use a Sheridan Engineering 300 Blackout case gauge. And so very nice case gauge, gives you that cross-section view, so you can kind of see things in detail and kind of what's going on, what's happening. So that round looks pretty good. So I just wanted to kind of check it just to make sure it's going good. Now, my personal take on things like with case gauges is I just check every round in them. And the way I load my ammunition, and some people are different, and it depends on what you're loading. And I might do this differently in the future. Let's say if I'm loading for a specific bolt gun, maybe if I'm neck sizing, whatever, I might load to that particular gun specifically. But kind of the stance that I take with all of my ammo is that I want it to be transferable from one gun to the next. So I want it to essentially pass spec, so to speak. So if I take it and use it in another AR-15 or another AR-15 or whatever, or even a bolt action bolt action 300 Blackout, whatever. Essentially, I just want it to chamber. So same thing with like 7.62 NATO that I load. It needs to work in all of my 7.62 NATO rifles. I'm not going to go to the trouble of loading something specifically for one rifle or loading it one way. It needs to work in everything. Same thing with my 9mm, 45, all that stuff. If I've got 10 9mm pistols in front of me, that ammo needs to work in every single one. And so I check every single thing in a case gauge. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, case gauges are stupid, whatever. I don't use them, this and that. These are always the guys that I see at the IDPA or USPSA matches that are continuously clearing their guns because their ammo's choking on the gun and there's some issue going on there. So, hey, you know, again, it's kind of, you know, what you have to decide, you know, what your approach is going to be to all that sort of stuff. So me, I like to check my work, and a lot of times, like if I'm loading pistol ammo, I find that maybe 1 out of every 150, 200 I reject. Okay, and that's just the way it is. Maybe there's an issue with the manufacturing with the brass. Maybe there's an issue with the way the bullet got seated or whatever. In any case, that round didn't work out. Pull a bullet, you know, recycle the powder if I can, and dump the brass and move on. Yeah, that's the way I go. You know, I just don't have time for things choking up in my guns. You know, so that's kind of the approach I take. The other thing, as I've mentioned in other videos before, is I've been very happy with Starline brass for 300 Blackout. So I am gradually going to start transitioning to that. And a lot of this other Mixmaster brass of kind of different brands and different things like that, I think it's going to be a thing of where I'm essentially going to use that for ammunition like this that's kind of just a plinker load. So coming up next, what we're going to do is we'll keep this video pretty short and we'll have a part 4. So this week, what I'm going to aim to do is get up on the range. We'll get the chronograph hooked up. We'll get some targets set up, and we'll do a little bit of accuracy testing with it. And we will also do a little bit of velocity testing just to kind of see where we're at. I've tested the velocities before, you know, and so I have a good idea of what things should look like. So we'll just kind of see what we get on the data this time and see what kind of comes back. So we'll do that, and we'll make a video for that, and then that should essentially wrap up the project. So you know, ordinarily with this load, I probably wouldn't go and do that testing again because I've done it several times before, but we'll go ahead and do it for the camera. And, you know, just so you guys can see it. And then once I finish all the testing, it's going to be back into, I've got a box of 500 of these, and right here. So essentially we're just going to keep on trucking until we get all 500 of these babies loaded up, and you know, and then that'll be it for a while. So that should keep me in plinkers for a little bit, and then we'll move on to the next 300 Blackout project after that. And I'll have to kind of decide, you know, which bullet I'm going to go with for that project. So I got a couple of different options and sitting on the shelf. So we'll see what we do next. I think also too, the other thing this fall, I think I'm going to look at building another 300 Blackout rifle, and we'll also perhaps look at building a 300 Blackout pistol, depending on what happens with the stupid regulations that the ATF is trying to ramp through. So, you know, we'll kind of see where that goes, and then I'll kind of go from there and see if I want to do a pistol or not, you know. So yeah. So I think that should do it for right now. So anyways, look forward to part 4, and we'll get out at the range. We'll do some shooting with these, and we'll probably do, you know, some good accuracy testing. We'll do some rapid fire shooting with it, just, you know, shooting up the target. We'll do the chronograph and all that, and yeah, then we should be all set and good to go. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, and we'll see you all soon.